welcome back to the Unleashing Potentials podcast. So joining me today is Tina Sibley. Is that how you pronounce it?
That's right. Yeah, that's correct.
Oh, nice. So Tina, where are you joining us from?
Well, hi, Bernadette. I'm joining you today from Spain. I'm originally from the UK myself, but
Mhm.
I moved to sunny Spain about 7 years ago because I got fed up with the constant rain over there.
Oh, that's really cool. Um, what's the weather like there now?
It's beautiful, hot and sunny. If anything, it's a little too hot. It kind of makes wearing makeup during the day pretty impossible.
Mm.
But having said that, that's why I moved over here for the warmth and for the sunshine. So I can't complain.
Mhm.
It's a really great day.
That's awesome. And you were telling me that you've been in Calgary, Canada, where I am.
Yeah, I spent 4 months in Canada and I went all across from east to west. I kind of started on the east side and I loved it. And I actually have got my stripes for having
Mhm.
survived the Canadian winter, snow shoveling and all. I was there from the beginning of December until midway through April, and I was in Calgary with a lot of snow, but I loved it. Absolutely
Mhm.
loved it there.
Mhm. Yeah, we do get quite a lot of snow, and the
I
weather.
don't know how you do that every year. Once was enough. One Canadian winter was enough for me. Next time I
I've,
come back, it'll be summer.
yeah, I'd say that I've adapted. I've adapted to it. It's not
Yeah,
too bad. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool though. You're one of the only person I've talked to who's been here. So that's nice.
Cool.
Hmm. Yeah, so Tina, let's get this party going. uh,
Sure.
yeah, can you tell us who is Tina and what are you doing where you are?
Well, I am a bit of a kind of a rebel. I used to work in the corporate world,
Hmm.
and then I became an entrepreneur about 20 years ago. I've been coaching for about 25 years. And I kind of ended up getting sucked into teaching people how to do public speaking and then webinars and then technology. Um, and I kind of went through a bit of a bad time about maybe 10 years ago. Ended up getting divorced, going through bankruptcy, and I started really not taking care of myself, comfort eating, the weight piled on, and I was very unhappy. And then when I came over to Spain, I some of my friends were going hiking, and I love nature. I love the beach. I love mountains.
Mhm.
And when I saw the photographs, I'm like, oh, I want to do that. The photographs from where you're going are amazing. And they were like, but you won't be able to keep up with us. And you're scared of heights,
Mhm.
yeah, no, it's not for you. And I've been told that anything physical was not for me ever since I was tiny. Oh, you're academic, love, you're not sporty.
Mhm.
And so even though I was a coach, I had that massive limiting belief in my mind still. And then I decided that not only did I want to go hiking, but I'd always had this thing in my head that I wanted to hike the Inca Trail.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I'm going to do it. So, to cut a long story short, I started hiking by myself because they were right. I tried to go with them and I couldn't keep up. And I so I went by myself until I could keep up.
Mhm.
And it was such a transformational experience for me that when I was up there on the trail, I vowed it was such an amazing feeling of pride, achievement, of doing the thing that everybody thought I couldn't do, doing the thing that I thought I couldn't do. And the feeling was so amazing. And of course, just being up in the mountains was spiritual. And I felt literally on top of the world. And I
Mhm.
went, I want my clients to feel like this. I have to share this. I want other people to feel as amazing as I'm feeling right now. So when I came back, I made a vow that I was going to go back to my roots of life coaching and confidence and courage and all of that kind of thing. And I kind of realized I want to do my work outdoors with people. I've been working all throughout my career in meeting rooms and then over Zoom.
Mhm.
And I'm like, no, this is so much more powerful done outdoors in nature. Then, of course, the pandemic happened. So I was like restrained. I was kept online for another couple of years.
Mhm.
And during that time, my confidence grew so much. I was like, well, what else can I do?
Mm.
And then I ended up climbing Kilimanjaro last year, not once, but twice.
Wow.
Um,
Where is
and
it?
I was like, so I never hiked before I was 58. I did the Inca Trail when I was 59. I
Mhm.
did Kilimanjaro the first time at 62. No, 61.
Mhm.
And then the second time at 62.
Mhm.
And I realized that number one, wow, if I thought the Inca Trail exceeded my expectations, I
Mhm.
realized I could do so much more than I thought I could.
Mhm.
And that's the message I want to give to other people. Not only can you do more than you think you can, so don't be afraid to set big goals and go for them, but
Mhm.
also the message that it's never too late. You know, you're never too old.
Mhm. Mhm.
So those are the two big messages I want to get out to my clients. You can do more than you think you can, and you're
Mhm.
never too old. So
Mhm.
that's the message I'm spreading to the rest of the world.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, thank you for spreading that because in the society we live in, they do put those labels on anyone they can find who will accept him. I can
Yeah.
tell that at one point that you did make those things your reality, but they're no longer that for you. So
No, and
bravo.
thank you. It's funny because I mean I'd been a coach for 20 years
Mhm.
and I'd been, NLP practitioner, and yet I still had those beliefs. And I guess because it didn't at that point impact my life greatly, or at least
Mhm.
I didn't recognize how much it was impacting my life because, I was getting on, I was doing my work. I was actually quite confident anyway.
Mhm.
Um, but it took me by surprise. I hadn't realized how much I was holding myself back
Mhm.
because I was accepting the limitations that other people were putting on me, and I just accepted them.
Mhm.
And then when I did that, and then I realized, well, if I can climb Kilimanjaro
Mhm.
at that age, having never been a hiker before, what else can I achieve? So now my goals in my business and in life are so much bigger than they ever have were before. My
Mhm.
vision, and this time I know I can do it. It's not like, oh, well, that's a big goal, but I'm not sure if I can do it. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a big goal, and I know I can do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I wanted to ask you what countries or the places you've hiked or in.
Well, I really loved Ecuador. Before
Mhm.
I went to do the Inca Trail, I spent a week on my own in Quito in Ecuador.
Mhm.
And one of the things I found when I was just doing my research was that there were some pretty cool hiking trails and volcanoes in Ecuador.
Mhm.
And I thought, you know what? If I can start doing those, it will help me to acclimatize for altitude
Mhm.
by the time I got to doing the Inca Trail, because I live at sea level. I mean, I know that Calgary's a bit higher. Like I'm at sea level, and I have no idea how I'm going to react to altitude. So I started doing these trails and the volcanoes in Ecuador, and I loved it. It was such a cool country. So, and then I went from there to the Galapagos Islands, and there's a volcano there, and I hiked that as well. And now I'm kind of like pretty addicted to volcanoes. I mean, obviously Kilimanjaro is a volcano,
Mhm.
and now I've got my sights in the future on like Mount Fuji in Japan, and I'd like to go hiking volcanoes in Guatemala
Mhm.
and Chile. So yeah, but um, yeah, I think Ecuador's probably my favorite place that I've hiked. Um, Spain's pretty cool for hiking, actually. It's fabulous.
Mhm.
We've got a beautiful combination of mountains and sea and coast. So you're up a mountain and you're looking over the sea, which is fantastic. And
Mhm.
when the weather's hot like it is now, we do a lot of river canyoning, where you're hiking actually in the river and
Oh.
sliding down little waterfalls and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm,
It's so Spain's a great country for hiking.
mhm.
I went to Thailand. That's not great for hiking. Too hot and humid. Too many mosquitoes.
Mhm,
But yeah, Tanzania was good as well. There was different places to hike. But
mhm.
Ecuador, my favorite hiking
Yeah.
country.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, are there certain places you'd recommend for anyone to go to in Spain to check out if they're visiting for the first
Yeah, I would say that the coastal area around the south of Spain is spectacular.
time?
Anywhere from the Portuguese coast also is
Mhm,
really stunning,
mhm,
and we've one of my favorite places is the city of Cadiz, because you've got the most amazing coastal hikes all around that area.
mhm.
But Cadiz, as well as a city, is really interesting. I think it's the oldest
Yeah.
Western city,
Mm,
and it's got such a lot of history. It's where Napoleon, the Battle of Trafalgar was, just off that part of the coast, and it really is beautiful city. And um, there's fabulous beaches. There's a place called Tarifa, which is a
mhm.
kind of bit of a hippie beach kind of community going on, and
Yeah.
it's just beautiful all the way up that coast. So you can take your pick and go pretty much anywhere, and it will
Mhm.
be amazing.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you find that there's lots of tourists where you are?
Where I live, not so much, fortunately. It's great. But some of the places get pretty touristy.
Mhm,
So places like Marbella, for example, a little bit further up the coast,
mhm,
they get pretty touristy. Um, I would
mhm,
stay away from the inland cities during the summer because it just gets too hot. So places like Seville,
mhm,
Cordoba, Granada, they're best visited either in the
mhm.
winter or even in the spring or autumn or fall, as you guys call it. But yeah, inland in July, August, summer, too hot. But on the coast, it's actually can be quite pleasant. It's not like super hot all the time because
Mhm.
you've got that sea breeze going on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sounds like you're very connected to nature. W-
Yes.
When you're hiking, when you've done a hike, uh, give me a scenario what it does for you mentally or physically in other
Uh,
ways.
it's it's like it's kind of like unplugging to to plug in. So it's like disconnecting from technology and all the rest of it. But
Mhm,
it's like I fill my batteries up. When I'm going out in nature, that
mhm,
like some I actually like hiking either in very small groups of friends
mhm,
or even on my own, because a lot of the big hiking groups where they've been hiking for 20 years or more, they go so fast that, to me, that doesn't give you the opportunity to really be in the moment and be mindful and present and enjoy it. I'm the kind of hiker who's like, oh, look at the color on that pretty flower. Oh, look at the shape of that tree. So I like to take my surroundings in, and I really like to connect with it. And it doesn't matter where I am, if as long as I'm in nature, I feel connected,
mhm, mhm,
not just to the nature itself, but I feel more connected to my inner self,
mhm.
and I feel more connected to like my higher self, the kind of, I call it the.
Yeah, so Tina, can you tell us who do you work with?
Well, I mainly work with female entrepreneurs over 40
Mhm,
who are wanting basically more out of life and more out of their business.
mhm,
And and especially entrepreneurs and coaches who perhaps, they're really confident in some areas, but they may be lacking courage and confidence in
mhm,
other areas, especially when it comes to doing new things, like, for example, standing up and speaking on stage, or
mhm,
doing, camera work like this. Or maybe they need more courage to charge what they're really truly worth. And also I just want to give people courage and confidence to get out there and have more fun. Maybe to go traveling solo, because it might well be that they don't have a partner, or they have a partner who doesn't want to do that with them.
Mhm.
And loads of people say, oh, I'd love to do that, but I haven't got anybody to go with, and I feel uncomfortable doing it by myself. And I'm like, well, I got to that point where if I waited for somebody to go with me, I would never go anywhere. So
Mm,
I decided that I would take off and do things by myself. And I've had a whale of a time. I've met some amazing people. So I want to give people the courage and confidence to just get out there
mhm,
and make the most out of life. You know, if that's growing their business, getting a better job, um, just basically to grab life by the balls.
mhm, mhm. Yeah. I like that you focus with a specific age. You have your own niche, and that niche is unfortunately not always seen by society. Because
Exactly.
yeah, when someone is over 40, they just assume that, okay, it's, it's the end of life, it's slowing down, when that's not true, right?
Exactly. In fact, I kind of woke up when I was like 57. And I have more, I'm 63 now. I
Mhm,
have more energy and drive and focus and clarity than I ever had when I was in my, 30s.
mhm,
I got more energy,
mhm,
strangely enough, now than I had back then. And that's why I want to get across the message, don't just because the numbers might be racking up, it doesn't mean to say that you should be slowing down. Far from it. You know,
mhm.
these days, crikey, we can live till we're 100.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, you're doing it. You're doing it. That's awesome. What would you say to anyone who is 40, over 40, and they want to be more active, but they have fears or they
Yeah.
don't know
Well,
where to start?
the first thing I say when it comes to being active is you got to find something that you enjoy.
Mm,
Because I think as well, there's a huge, and certainly this is what I used to have, this idea that exercise is a chore. And it's something which is to be, oh, I have to do this. I have to go to the gym and slog my guts out for 20 minutes, 3 times a week or whatever. No, it's got to be something you enjoy. And I actually first started getting active through dancing. I fell in love with salsa dancing. And now, I mean, it's a really good cardio workout, but
mhm,
it's a lot of fun.
mhm.
And so it's not like hard work, it's not like exercise. And then when I started hiking, I mean, I started off just walking. I couldn't walk up the hill behind my house. So
Mhm.
I started with just beginning to walk
Yeah.
a little bit further on the flat. And then I started walking up hills. And the other thing that's really important is to go at your own pace. Don't try and keep up with these super fit athletes who've been doing it for years.
Mhm,
Find your pace and rhythm and work with that. And if you find company that you can enjoy that with as well, it's
mhm,
not a chore, it's not hard work. And
mhm,
sure, if there's something in particular that you want to train for. So when I wanted to do the Inca Trail and then Kilimanjaro,
mhm.
I did use a personal trainer. I did it in the comfort of my own home. I am not one to humiliate myself in a gym. um,
Mhm,
but then you see, I had, and this is the other thing, is have something to work towards. When
mhm,
I was in my 40s, which is where, life started getting stressful and I started the bad habits and the weight started piling on. I
mm.
kept saying every year, every January, you know what it's like, we've all been there, we've all done it. This is the year I'm going to look after my health. I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to get fit.
Mm.
Did it happen? No. And I didn't. And the reason is because I didn't have a big enough why. I didn't have a reason. And just being healthy
Yeah.
kind of like wasn't enough. But as soon as it was like, I want to hike the Inca Trail, and if I don't get in shape, I'm not going to be able to do it.
Mhm,
Suddenly, that was the drive for me to make it happen.
mhm,
And I kept to my regime, and I found something that worked for me. I didn't diet, and I didn't say, right, that's it, I'm never eating chocolate or eating cakes ever again. I did the kind of 80-20 rule. So I was good 80% of the time. And then I'm not going to say I was naughty, because it was part of the plan. I enjoyed myself 20% of the time, but I didn't go mad. So, and then I found intermittent fasting worked for me. So it's about finding what works for you. I am not a big believer in following a program just because everybody else is. I mean, the big craze at the moment is this thing called 75 Hard. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. It's a guy called Andy Frisella wrote this book and this program. Basically, it's 75 days of a hard regime. And it's all about building mental resilience and toughness and discipline. And I'm like, oh, that wouldn't work for me. No way. But for some people, it works brilliant. But I see people in that group, because I was interested at what it was all about. So I went in and had a look. And the number of people I see saying, oh, I'm trying for my 5th time, I can't. And I'm like, if it's not your bag, do something different. You know, it's your life, your rules. You know, find something that's going to work for you. That's my big advice.
Yeah, I love that. Unfortunately, people as young as me do face those challenges as well. Right. Especially as a young mom, I know I faced that with weight gain, and right. The mentality was, okay, I'm going to be what people say a mother should be. And if I didn't have anyone to do anything with, I just didn't. So now I'm learning to just do it. Like you said, it's a mindset thing, mindset.
It is. It's all mindset. It really is all mindset. But you know, when you've got a busy life, it is tough. Which is why, if it's something that you don't enjoy, and you've got other important things to do, it's only natural that that's going to get pushed to the end. Whereas if you find something that you love and you can build it into your routine easily, then it makes you view it differently, you prioritize it differently. And the other thing is, even when it's something I love, having somebody like a girlfriend or whatever to do it with, if I've made a commitment to meet somebody to go dancing, or a commitment to meet somebody and go hiking, I'm going to do it. If I've not made that commitment, and I like wake up in the morning and I'm tired, and it's like, yeah, maybe I'll give it a skip today. And that's when I love it. You know, I love it. I love hiking. And sometimes, you know, we all can get those, yeah, I'm a bit lazy today. It's normal. It's human. And the thing is, when that happens, don't beat yourself up. But I think finding somebody to work out with, but in a way that's fun, is going to help keep you on track.
Yeah. And I find that most of the time when we start doing any types of activities, we're like, why didn't I do that already? Or start it?
I know.
It's
Yeah.
building the momentum just to kind of get into it.
Yeah.
And it's
And
hard to start.
and it feels good once you've got into it. I remember when I started training to do the Inca Trail, and I started really pushing myself physically for the first time in my life. And I remember at one point I was hiking up a steep trail, and I was powering, and my legs were going, and they felt like little machines. And I was like, whoa, this feels awesome. Why did I never do this before? You know, and I loved that feeling. And I can understand why some people get addicted to that. I mean, previously I'd never understood that. I'm like, yeah, you must be odd. But now I get it, because when you do push yourself physically and you get that adrenaline rush, it does feel good. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Give me a scenario how you would work with a client.
Okay, so what I like to do first of all is get them to explore exactly who they are. Because the big problem is, especially for us women, we get molded by other people. We've been programmed ever since we were very, very young by our parents, the rest of our family, our teachers, then our friends, then our bosses, our co-workers. And we become programmed and we get shoved into this expectation of what we think other people want us to be. And even then, you know, we find a partner and we mold ourselves to be what they want us to be. And in that process, we lose ourselves. So the very first thing I like to do with people is to really go inside and say, well, who are you really? You know, and look at your core values, your beliefs, what you believe about yourself. Where did those beliefs come from? Because those then drive our attitudes. You know, like, what are the limiting beliefs that are holding us back? Once you do all that, and once you start even looking at things like your personality type, the way you process information, your learning style, because the first thing, and one of the main reasons why people do not achieve their goals, is because the goals are not truly theirs. The goals are what they think they want because of the programming by everybody else. And I did this, and I'm like, why can't I achieve these goals? And I'm like, and then, like, for example, I had a goal at one point. I wanted to be a bit like a female Tony Robbins, a speaker on stage and all the rest of it. And I never seemed to really get there. But now that I've done a lot of deep work within nature, I've realized that a lot of the people in this, because I joined the Professional Speakers Association, Toastmasters, and all the rest of it. But back then, I think it's a lot different now. But back then, the successful speakers were suited and booted and like the whole power suits and glam, and that wasn't me. And because it wasn't who I was, it was not in alignment, and therefore I self-sabotaged because it didn't sit with who I am as a person. Like, now I'm ready to go back on that stage, but I'm going to go back on that stage as me. I'm probably going to be wearing my hiking pants. You know, I'll put a bit of makeup on and I'll make myself look professional and presentable, but I'm going to be in my hiking pants and my trainers, or in my shorts and flip-flops, because this is who I am.
Yeah.
And you're never, ever, ever going to see me in a pair of heels again in my life. That's just not who I am. I might wear smart, nice, comfortable sandals, which are a bit blingy, but you're never going to get me in the corporate heels. But, you know, for some people that works. For some people that is who they are, and it's brilliant. And I applaud that. But the way that I start working with clients is like, we got to figure out who you are. We got to make sure that your goals and the way that you work and the way that you're living in your life is in alignment with who you are, because then it's like you can accelerate. If it's out of alignment, it's going to be like banging your head against a brick wall.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good place to start. I can tell that's a very fulfilling career and mission that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't until I was, crikey, even though I'd been coaching myself for 25 years, it wasn't until I started that journey out in nature and up on the Inca Trail and everything that I finally figured out who I was.
Yeah.
I thought I knew who I was, but it's really funny because when I started the whole coaching and everything, even the coaching community has this idea of how you should behave. It's like, if you didn't have a goal to earn $1 million in a year, there was something wrong with you. You were thinking too small. And it's like, actually, no, I don't want to earn. Yeah, okay, if I can make that much money. And actually, it's funny because this is what's done. I thought, that I don't want to be tied to my computer to earn that kind of money. Well, funnily enough, now I've come up with a way where I can actually start earning big money, but doing what I love, which is being out in nature by running these trips. And I'm like, I can, all of a sudden now, I can see that growing, where I can become very wealthy by hiking and working with people while I hike. You know, what better method is that? and I can run corporate and leadership events and all sorts of things out in the mountains. So yeah, it's interesting, but you've got to be in alignment. Otherwise, it just doesn't work, and you end up stressed and burned out and unfulfilled and unhappy. And who
Yeah.
wants that?
Mhm. Yeah, I don't really wear heels either, because I have back issues, and I just don't like to be uncomfortable. I love
Exactly.
comfort. I can't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, these ladies who manage to do it, I take my hat off to them, because it's like, nah, you
Mm.
know, and it's especially when you see some of these celebrities dancing in these enormous heels, and I'm like, girl, how are you not breaking your neck? I don't know how to do it, but yeah, and fortunately, it's becoming much more acceptable now
Mhm.
to have your own style and not have to do the corporate
Yeah.
image.
Yeah, yeah. Can you tell us more about your book or books? How many books have you written?
Yeah, I've actually written 2 books. I'm on my third.
Oh, nice. Come
Yeah,
on,
one
mission.
I wrote a long time ago,
Yeah.
was overcoming a fear of public speaking.
Oh.
It was called Befriending the Bear, because I always say that people say that they want to eliminate the fear, and I'm like, no, befriend it. Like, people misunderstand bears, like
Mhm.
especially black bears. I mean,
Mhm.
they're such amazing, gorgeous creatures, but people are afraid of them, and needlessly. And it's the same with speaking. You know, you
Mhm.
don't need to be afraid of it, but it is one of the biggest fears in the world, and that's because people don't understand it. You know, they
Mhm.
think, well, just because I've got a mouth, I should be able to speak. But actually, it's a skill. You've got to learn
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And there's reasons why we are afraid of it. Like, for one thing, if you're on a stage, you're one figure pointing that way, and
Mhm.
you've got all those figures pointing this way. And it's a bit like, well, your army's bigger than mine. And this all goes on at the subconscious level, but that's what we're thinking, you know, and we want to protect ourselves. And
Yeah.
then, of course, you've got the stories ever since we were little. Oh, you know, nice little girls are seen and not heard.
Mhm. Mhm.
And also, we've been brought up to think that putting yourself in the spotlight is not nice. Oh, who do they think they are?
Mhm.
Oh, hogging the spotlight, blowing their own trumpet. Nobody likes a show off. So when you got all that stuff going on in your head subconsciously, it's hardly surprising that people feel uncomfortable. So I wrote a book on that. And then my recent book is my transformation journey. I'll just hold it up. Basically, when I thought about doing the Inca Trail, I saw myself as a fat old bird with a heart condition, high blood pressure, and a massive fear of heights. Um,
That's really cool.
and I'm like, could I really do the Inca Trail? And I just thought, well, why not? I can change things. And I did. And I transformed from being that fat old bird to being much younger in my thinking and my outlook, and being much more healthy, and all the rest of it. And I lost the weight, and it really did give me a new lease of life. So my book is not just about the actual journey on the trail itself, but the journey of transformation beforehand,
Mhm.
and the mistakes I made, and the, you know, the little mini triumphs, and I got to tell you this one story. This is one of my favorite bits that I put in the book. It was kind of like, I was really serious about doing this, so I joined the whole Mind Valley, and I downloaded all these meditations and signed up for the life
Yeah.
book, and I did this massive mindset training and meditation, and all the rest of it.
Mhm.
The following day, I got the munchies, and I went to the shop, and I bought what was supposed to last me 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And within like an hour, I demolished a whole packet of ginger biscuits and an entire chocolate orange. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, why? After all that mindset training I did yesterday,
Mhm.
what is wrong with me? You know? But it happens. It's normal. You know, we're human. We have our little failings. And I think it's because I've been so good for so long And I think this is the thing. If you try and deprive yourself of something for too long that you enjoy, you're going to cave. Whereas if you just allow yourself a little bit and you say, right, I'm not eliminating anything. Nothing's banned. But actually, I want to be slim and I want to be fit more than I want to eat all the time. So I did it, but it's funny because I wanted people to realize that it's possible even when you have those habits and cravings. Because a lot of people who are teaching this stuff, and especially adventurous stuff, they tend to be very fit young men who've been active forever. And it's like, yeah, but I can't relate to that. That's like, you know, whereas if there's a roly-poly old me in my sort of, I was roly-poly up until my mid-50s, well, until 57, 58. And if I can do it at that age, pretty much anybody can do it. So I'm inspiring people that I'm not a super athlete. I'm not somebody who's been doing this for a long time. But even somebody like me, with all of my hang-ups and limitations and all the rest of it, can change that story and overcome it to hike a great big old mountain like Kilimanjaro twice. So there's no excuse really for not doing it. But the thing is to do it your way, your speed, your methods, in a way that's going to work, and not beat yourself up when you like fall off the tracks. Just get back on again and get going again.
Yeah, you just shared your secret recipe. That's not so secret. It's like,
yeah,
know it.
And that's it. I don't want it to be secret. I want everybody to know, you know, because life's hard enough as it is without keeping all of this stuff secret, you know?
Yeah, I love that you wrote a book on public speaking. Yeah, I never liked, you know, in classes or when they put you in front of the class. Maybe I'll do better now, but yeah, I would just pass out.
And most people don't. And in fact, I mean, I was never a shy child. I was outgoing. I never had a problem making friends or socially or anything like that. But for me, the dreaded thing was I worked in a bank. You know, like you go on the training course, and at the start of the training course, they go around the room and you have to introduce yourself, say where you're from, a little bit, tell them a little bit about. I used to melt down. So I'm like, well, if I'm kind of a bit of an extrovert socially and I'm that scared, what's it like for people who are much more introverted by nature? And I found that when I started doing my coaching, that's what people wanted help with the most. So, and that was probably the most clients I've worked with. And then, like recently, when I went back, moving away from the technology to the confidence side, I thought, well, all I got to do is take what I used to do with people with public speaking and then just apply that to any situation. It doesn't matter if it's speaking, dating, traveling solo. It doesn't matter. It's all emotion and fear that can be controlled. And also we're human, because a lot of people think that we should be 100% confident 100% of the time. No, I just had a situation last Saturday. I overcame my fear of heights, and now I can abseil down a cliff and I can do things, you know, no problem. But I went river canyoning. And we were abseiling down this waterfall. And to cut a long story short, I got trapped under the water. I went under the water. I couldn't surface because of the force of the water. And for a horrible few moments there, I thought I was going to drown until somebody came and fished me out. When it came to doing the next waterfall, I lost it totally. I had a complete meltdown, panic, and the guide had to physically manhandle me. He said, it's okay, we'll do it together. He said, we'll do it together. And it was really funny because he kind of got one side of me, and then he was indicating for me to kind of pretty much sit on his knee while he grabbed me and like took me down. And of course the girls were laughing. She's done that on purpose. So there was a benefit to it. But And I thought to myself fleetingly, oh, who am I to be teaching people about confidence? Look at the mess I'm in.
Mhm.
But actually, when I thought about it, yeah, anybody who just had the experience underwater that I would have had would have been shook up. And it's like unrealistic to think that we're going to be 100% confident and courageous 100% of the time. We're human. We have our moments. We have experiences that shake us up
Mhm.
and that affect us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then, you can learn to deal with that. And then when it happens, yeah, all right, so what? I'm human. It's
Mhm.
not a problem. Let's move on.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
fear is not logical. We're not logical beings. If we were all Spock, Vulcan, whatever, then it would be fine, but we're not.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. So Tina, where can people find you and your work?
Easiest places to, fortunately, I've got a name which is not that common. So my website is tinasibley.com.
Mhm.
There are not that many of us on Facebook, and I'm the one with the profile photo at the summit of Kilimanjaro.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm my favorite social media platform is Facebook. I
Yeah,
love
mine too.
connecting with people on Facebook.
Yeah.
If you send me messages on LinkedIn or Instagram, I may well not see them for about 3 weeks because I use them. I use them, but not regularly enough. But if you connect with me on Facebook, that's where I do most of my hanging out. And then on my website, I've got like free guides. I got a guide on courage, and you can see the information. I would love to have people come with me on my trips on Kilimanjaro or on the Inca Trail.
Yeah, I'd join you, but I'd have to carry two kids on my back.
That can be done. It's easy. You just hire extra porters and get the porters to carry them.
Yeah, it sounds fun though. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up the episode?
No, I would just like to remind people that it doesn't matter where you're at, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what your starting position,
Mhm.
that if you're in a really dark place, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. It's
Mhm.
kind of like when I was on that mountain, slogging up to the summit, I just knew that if I kept going, eventually morning would come because you hike through the night. And I knew that if I just kept going, morning would come and I would make it.
Mhm.
And I always think that in life, if you're in a dark place, if you just focus on
Mhm.
the next step, eventually dawn will come, the light will come, and then you'll be into the daylight again. And you're never too old.
Mhm. Mhm.
So yeah, and just have fun. And if you
Yeah.
need help with having fun, just reach out to me. I'm available for 20-minute, chats for free, and
Mhm.
then point you in the right direction. And then if you want to work with me further, then we can figure out how.
Yeah, that's awesome. What an incredible interview. Thank you so much for
Oh, thank you
you.
for inviting me. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.